I'll be honest with you, I don't like 85mm prime lenses. I almost never use 85mm prime lenses. I always gravitate away from this focal length. If I want a close up, I'll use a 50mm. And every single time I buy an 85mm prime, thinking this one is the one I'll start to use, it just sits in a lens case collecting dust. So when Sirui offered to send me a copy of the new 85mm Aurora full frame lens for review, I was hesitant. Would I ever really use it? Can I learn to love the 85mm focal length? Ultimately, curiosity got the best of me, so while this was provided to me for free, Sirui do not have any say on my evaluation of the lens, and as an 85mm skeptic, it had some work to do to win me over. But I do see how valuable this lens can be for those beautiful portrait close-ups, especially when you want to throw your background way out of focus and really leverage your depth of field. This isn't really a style I personally like to employ, although in the past I did use it quite liberally working on my second feature film Older, where I dabbled with the focal length from time to time using a Rokinon 85mm. It's safe to say the Aurora offers a lot more than that old Rokinon, and this lens does have a lot of things going for it. First, is its price. It comes in at $500 to $600 US, and this is a 1.4 autofocus lens. To frame that price point, a Sony G Master 1.4 85 version 2 will set you back over twice as much at $1,800, and the more competitively priced Sigma 1.4 is $1,100, still $400 to $500 more than the Sirui. There is only one contender here if you're looking for a 1.4 85 at the same price point, and that's the Samyang. But the Sirui version does have a couple of distinct advantages, with a clickable aperture ring, which you can use for manual control if you want, or you can control those same settings in camera. It also has an AF/MF switch for controlling the focus, and it weighs less than the Samyang. The Aurora is built a little bit more like a cinema lens, but not quite like a cinema lens, with the clickable aperture and focus ring, which can be used manually. The overall weight is very light at 1.2 lbs, which is much lighter than some of its competitors. So what we have here is a nice, lightweight, manually adjustable auto-focusing portrait lens with a 1.4 f-stop glass made with a 14-element 15-blade diaphragm that is much cheaper than most of the competition. And who doesn't love cheap alternatives to more expensive lenses? It comes with a lens hood and a nice lens pouch. It has a front filter thread of 67mm. Here are some comparisons to my other 85mm lenses, but I currently don't have any additional autofocus 85mm prime lenses I can compare this to directly. In my real world experience, I used the Sirui Aurora on my B cam for close-up shots when filming interviews over a recent large-scale project. This for me is where the 85mm focal length is perfect, as a 50mm lens on full frame requires me to have to get a little too close to my subject and potentially compromise my main shot on the A cam. I found the Sirui to perform very well. Its autofocus was great and never let me down. The focus was consistent, fast, and snappy. I normally had the lens at f1.8 rather than f1.4, but everything else seemed to work well regardless of the f-stop. Now, I will say the lens did seem to have just a touch more character than some of the other photography lenses I've used, and I was very happy to see that. Give me character over clinical any day. Overall, for a minimalist, quick setup, this lens was ideal and may stay almost permanently on my B cam when shooting 2-camera interviews. And because it is light, you could also use it on a slider or gimbal without it overbalancing, which can't be said for many other 85mm lenses. In terms of cons, I really only have one complaint, and that's its minimum focus distance, which is 85 centimeters, which means you really can't get close or use this for macro shots. It's just not an option. And this long minimum focus does limit how flexible this lens is overall, and means that you are going to miss out on shooting certain types of close-ups. It wasn't a problem for how I like to use it, but I can see some people being frustrated with this. That's really its main limitation or trade-off for the price. Otherwise, I would certainly recommend this lens. The autofocus was snappy, the bokeh was pleasing with a pretty nice fall off, and that price makes it a great budget 85mm. But I have to be honest, you're talking to the same guy who sold his G Master lenses and replaced them with cheap Viltrox primes. I straight up don't give a fuck, yo. I'm wild, y'all. I'll do anything to save a buck on my film shoots. And I have no respect for photography glass. For me, I favor cinema glass and vintage glass. If I need autofocus and I'm using a photography lens, then I want it to be affordable. And so this ticks that box big time. Overall, I would say Sirui Aurora has got that good aura. And if you're looking to save money and avoid G Masters, this works out great, especially if you like lightweight primes. I'm looking forward to more entries in this set, and I sincerely hope that that's what they're working on, as a full set of cheap 1.4 prime autofocus lenses would likely be a huge seller for them. The lens currently comes in E, Z, and X mount. If you want to check out the other lens I like to use all the time for almost all my corporate work, the one and done lens that works for almost every shooting scenario, then click on the link beside me. As always, I am the Savage Filmmaker, and I'll see you when I see you.